Stack them bricks and flaunt it on them. You fools don't want any problems. Stacking chips and popping bottles. Up in the club with Gucci bottoms. Up in the club with Gucci bottoms. My exes meet my hoes, that shit's like tic-tac-toe. If you got Jack in your cup, go raise it up, go raise it.
Ugh. Hello? Oh, hey, Hal. What do you need? Oh. Yeah, about that. Look, I know I said I'd quit my vacation and get back to commentaries, but can I just take that back and... What am I doing? I'm chilling in my torture chamber, of course. What else would I be doing? Look, I don't want to do a commentary. I'm a little busy entertaining myself by being a sadistic yet masochist kind of bit. You'll do what now? Oh, you motherfucker. Fine. What is it you want me to cover? A top 10 music list? Look, I'm not all that well educated on music. Just because I blast loud-ass music in my house doesn't mean I... Okay, fine. I'll do it. But you better cuff up your end of the deal when I'm done taking out this trash. Ugh. Guess I should get this commentary done and out of the way already. Let me just pull up my laptop here and...
Hey, I'm Stevie T, and there's a lot of hated bands out there, let me tell ya.
Oh. Oh, no. Well, Hal said I can do whatever the hell I want with this material, so... Guess who I'm bringing back, bitches. Alright then. Freaks and Geeks. In the Circle of Hell, we have Steve Terberry, or Stevie T for short. He does mostly music-related content here on YouTube, and his top 10 most hated bands list was the first I watched from him, and even though I ain't an expert on music, I did still see a few issues with this video, so let's just begin.
But I've always been intrigued as to why these bands are hated. So today we're gonna do a top 10 most hated bands ever list. And I do need to clarify before we get started that just because a band is hated doesn't mean they suck or that they deserve the hate necessarily. Because let's face it, you have to be loved in order to be hated. Or at least, that's what I keep telling myself.
I'm playing his disclaimer card just so you guys have context and understand why this will haunt me later on in the commentary.
So here's number 10 on our list. No, I don't want to say AC/DC. So the main argument as to why people don't like AC/DC? Because all the songs sound the same. Oh yeah, you should be all night long in big balls. And that's another problem that some people have with AC/DC is that they don't like Brian Johnson's vocals. You should be all night long. Big balls. But what's not to like? Okay, so maybe Brian Johnson's vocals aren't everyone's bag of onions, but they have their formula. They've had that formula for many decades, and it works for them. Why would they want to change? I actually commend them for not changing their style just to fit in with a current trend, or because a label told them to change. So stop hating on AC/DC, because they're really kind of neat.
If you don't want to put AC/DC on the list, then don't put them on the list. In your disclaimer, you didn't specify whether these are bands you hate or majority of people hate. Your disclaimer boiled down to, just because a band is hated doesn't mean they're inherently bad or even deserve the hate. I know that may seem like a nitpick, but you argued that you're glad they haven't changed their style because you think they don't need to, so why add them to the list? I'm sorta confused, honestly. It is, after all, your list. Add whoever the hell you want to the list. Now, as for the claim that AC/DC hasn't changed, although I'm not a fan of AC/DC, someone who gave me half of their gene pool happens to be. Anywho, when I showed them this video, they said when AC/DC's album Black Ice came out, it didn't sound the same to their other stuff. Although it's pretty much a subjective opinion, because it's all up to the person's personal taste/thoughts on their music or albums. After all, this is only coming from one fan of AC/DC, but how in the world does all their stuff sound the same? They literally had a song with bagpipes in it. Pretty sure not all of their songs feature bagpipes in it now, don't it?
put on this list. But the fact is, as much love as they get a lot of hate. And it's like, you know, why? It's freaking Metallica! But I think the reason why they get a lot of hate is because they've changed a lot over the years, and people in general don't like change. Metallica started off as a thrash metal band, and they sold out and did the Black Album with a more mainstream sound, which was kind of a kick in the nuts to all their original thrash metal fans. And then Metallica starts to get a little cuckoo magoo. They do the whole load and reload thing, they bust out the fur coats, they bust out the eyeliner, and let me tell you, the original Metallica fans, not big on the fur coats, not big on the eyeliner. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. And then Lars and Kirk get all up close and personal, and they're like gonna do some stuff, just a little bit of experimentation. Like, look at that. Kirk Hammett's just ready to get a little bit like to Lars's mouth. That's what Metallica fans wanted to see.
And then Lars had this thing with Napster and was like, oh, downloading music illegally. Poor little guy.
Okay. I just find it ironic that AC/DC is hated for staying the same and not being different and branching out, yet Metallica is hated for not staying the same and being different and branching out. G fucking G. There's also a pattern with this list. The reasonings for these bands being put on this list range from understandable major reasons, like the music sounding the same or being different, to mundane or even minor stuff, like people not liking a fashion phase the band was going through, and well, this list is just all over the place, and you'll soon see that the further we go down this rabbit hole. In the Napster versus Metallica drama, oh boy did you overgeneralize it. Lars wasn't upset by the fact you could download music for free. He was upset to find one of their unreleased songs released and being distributed on Napster. He was afraid this would affect distribution rights. Although studies showed that people who listened to music on Napster went out and bought music more than people who didn't use Napster, Lars decided to take legal action. People were quick to call them out as hypocrites due to Metallica's rise to fame was promoting tape trading, which meant if they were pursuing legal action to Napster, they were squishing something that helped them get to where they were and blocking any other artists from gaining popularity by similar tactics. People also got pissed at Metallica for delivering a list of thousands of names to Napster. They delivered those names due to them belonging to users on Napster who had downloaded their songs, and those users got banned, causing Metallica fans to go into uproar, taking this move as a fuck you to all their fans. Which could totally be a reason people hate the band Metallica, but let's not mention that on the top 10 most hated bands list. People thought Metallica was being greedy with all this, but Lars went on to say that the money didn't matter. He was more or less concerned about the distribution rights. But nah, let's boil it down to Mr. Lars being a little baby over free downloadable music on the internet. It'll be fine.
Good old Black Veil Brides, or BVB. Now, I can appreciate them musically, their guitarists are sick. Don't hate me, leave me alone, I have opinions! God! And I actually think Andy Biersack's a good singer. Don't punch me again. In fact, a lot of people say that Andy's singing sucks, and it's like, dude, we live in a world of nut-grabbing, helium-sucking, estrogen-induced singers.
You state your opinion saying their guitarist and lead singer is good, and yet you turn around and go, people don't like his voice? Come on guys, we've heard worse. That doesn't mean they still can't dislike Andy's voice, just like how even though Black Veil Brides is hated, you still enjoy them. Kinda like as if they have an opinion as well. Go figure. Also, I thought this was a top 10 hated bands list, not list of bands people hate but I think are actually good. So far on this list, every time you bring up a band, you clearly show distaste for having to put them on the list, or have defended them in some way. It's fine if you disagree, but if you disagree, why are you making this list? Why are you even putting that band on the list? You don't have to go with the mainstream opinion. Put whoever the hell you want on this list. Jeez.
Now, someone recommended to me that The Lost Prophets is hated worldwide because of Ian. Lost Prophets? I remember them being a sick band. Back in high school, those guys were the actual tits. They were amazing. But I'm curious to see why they would be hated. Okay, so Ian was the singer. Oh, okay, apparently he was sentenced to... What the fuck? That is this... Well, there's one band I'll never be able to listen to ever again. Great!
Congrats, sicko! You just got yourself the number 6 spot on this list.
Number 6 spot. You gave a band who had a lead singer sentenced to 35 years over child sex offenses at the number 6 spot. Remember how I said this list was all over the place? Yeah, but we're not done yet. I'll go into more detail when we get close to number 1 spot, but just remember, any other band listed below number 6 is worse than a band that had a lead singer who attempted to rape a baby. Just keep that in mind.
Banana pickle boat. Banana pickle boat. I don't mind mind me, I'm just sitting here playing one of U2's newest songs. Yeah, new as in 1952.
I mean, they released an album December 1st, 2017, but I'm assuming this was a joke or hint towards the fact that they haven't changed since 1952. Not to mention you completely butchered this by giving the wrong date. Their first release of music was in 1979, so they weren't even making music in 1952. Fuck, they didn't even form as a band until 1976. You would've maybe have an okay point/joke if you got the date right. And yes, we can argue that was the point of the joke, it is to over-exaggerate the year, but as someone who has never listened to U2, I would have believed they made music in 1952 if it weren't for the fact that that obviously doesn't sound right, so I googled it. Thanks for the history lesson, at least.
And that's one of the main things that people have to say about U2 is that they've been riding on the same songs for decades and they never release anything new or interesting. Can U2 give us something that is new? And they're a good band. Edge is a great guitarist. But then there's Bono. Oh, good old Bonmeister, you know, the Yoko Bono. I think he's a great frontman. Though I will say there's something super ironic about Bono taking pictures in third world countries while wearing sunglasses that are like probably $10,000. Is that kind of goofy? I don't know. A little insensitive maybe? You know, kind of like, click, hey kid, check out my $10,000 watch. This watch could feed your village for a whole year. Click. But who are we to judge, really? He's done amazing charity work, regardless. So anyways, yeah, a great band that I'm a fan of.
But a lot of haters due to Bono and his bononucleosis.
Bononucleosis, an abnormal inflation of the ego generally attributed to lead vocalists. Symptoms include douchey behavior and failure to acknowledge bandmates as equals.
Says he's insensitive due to wearing expensive sunglasses in a photo with starving children. Mentions how he does a lot of charity work. G fucking G. I mean, I get why people would think it's insensitive, but I'm sure plenty of other celebrities who did charity for starving African children wore expensive clothing too. They're celebrities. They own expensive shit. At least they don't flex it and make it super obvious that they own expensive shit like some hype beast YouTubers. And this is something about your list I don't understand. A band is hated when in actuality it's the lead singer that is only hated. Does the band really deserve the hate the lead singer is only getting due to the band members, you know, associating themselves with said lead singer? That means the whole band deserves to be hated? I honestly can't get around with that. The only case I can see it being valid is the Lost Prophets, but then again, it's more or less people not wanting to support a band that had a lead singer attempting to rape a baby. Yes, I want to lodge that in everyone's brain because apparently a lead singer that does charity work and wore expensive sunglasses around starving children is worse than the lead singer that committed an actual crime and was sentenced to 35 years. This fucking list, man.
Alright, we're getting closer to number one, so now we're gonna start seeing bands that actually kind of deserve the hate they get. These bands are actually gonna start to suck a little bit. A lot.
Wait. This is giving me a flashback to something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Or that they deserve the hate necessarily. Because let's face it, you have to
Maybe
be
it's-
loved in order to be
No,
hated.
that can't be
or at
it.
least that's what I keep telling myself.
Guess we'll never know. Oh well, moving on.
You knew this one was coming. Coldplay, or as Chris Martin calls it, the Chris Martin Band. But they've had some good songs in the past, when they're not busy ripping off a Joe Satriani song, of course.
Am I the only one who doesn't think that was a ripoff? One was a guitar riff while the other was a guy singing, and it just so happened to sound similar or be played in the same note/pitch. And you literally played only 3 seconds of the clip. If you would have shown more parts where Coldplay supposedly ripped this song, I might believe you, but only giving us 3 seconds makes me very skeptical about your claim. Pause. Yo, post-date here for a bit. This video has been sitting on my hard drive for months on end waiting to be uploaded, and this snapped into my head while I was at work. Now I know my argument for the song comparison was a pretty low blow, because I'm gonna be real with ya. I know absolutely nothing about music. Now while I still made an okay argument in the end, as you will see after this small tangent, here's a better argument I could have made. Some artists do this thing called sampling, where they sample music or a familiar beat into a song of theirs, and there are tons of examples, which, if I can, I will list a few right now. For all we know, that's what Coldplay did, was use the sample of Joe Satriani's melody/beat and use it in their song. Now after this, I'm going to explain how that's not the case, but that's a better argument than one sounds like someone singing and the other is just music. I still stand behind the fact that 3 seconds wasn't enough and made me skeptical about his claim, but Jesus fucking Christ, Bastille. Really? Fucking really? That was your best argument? Ugh. Remind me not to do music-related stuff again till I get my shit figured out. Thanks. Anywho, post-date is out. Peace. I ended up searching out for a video explaining greater detail about this, and sure enough, not only did they sound similar, but Joe Satriani did file a lawsuit against Coldplay. But me, not being a fan of either of these artists, that's why I was skeptical with your claim. I heard nothing about this lawsuit even back when I first listened to Viva La Vida in middle school. Now this can all boil down to a nitpick, but just like with the Napster vs Metallica drama you brought up, you seem to either overgeneralize the situation or just not go into detail. If it's a reasoning for the band is hated, wouldn't it be a good idea to talk about it more instead of being a 5-second segment? I don't know, that's just me.
And, you know, all the hate for Coldplay comes from the people who don't like Chris Martin. But you know who does like Chris Martin? Chris Martin. At least that's how he comes off, and it just rubs people the wrong way. And another complaint people have about Coldplay is that their music is just boring. It's just tedious and boring. And even Chris Martin sounds bored when he's singing. And I will try to
Fuck.
you.
Examples? Like, okay, we have yet another lead singer that is full of himself, but why? Why do people see him as the egotistical prick? As someone who isn't a fan of Coldplay, I would think someone who is would explain to me, a non-fan, why people think he's like that. Hell, even a hater of Coldplay could explain it to me. Regardless if you're a fan or hater of them, Stevie T, why didn't you elaborate on this point? Unless you're like me, who hardly ever listens to any of their songs and could care less about their music. If you don't even know why the lead singer is hated, then why did you put them at the number 4 spot, you fuck? Also, do I need to bring up the number 6 spot again? No? Okay, good.
Wow, it looks like Creed changed their entire lineup. This is great! No more Scott Oh, okay, that's a movie poster. Well, I guess Creed still sucks then. No, cause see, here's the thing. Creed doesn't actually suck. No, cause see, here's the thing. Creed doesn't actually suck. Alright, we're getting closer to number 1. So now we're gonna start seeing bands that actually kinda deserve the hate they get. These bands are actually gonna start to suck a little bit. A lot. And I do need to clarify before we get started that just because a band is hated doesn't mean they suck or that they deserve the hate necessarily. Because let's face it, you have to be loved in order to be hated. Or at least, that's what I keep telling myself.
You have no idea how much I want to shove a metal rod up your ass right now. Cover your ears, son. You don't need to hear the bullshit that's about to come out of this man's mouth.
Well, here we are. The hate train has arrived. Limp Bizkit. Even the name Limp Bizkit's like, what were you thinking? Limp Bizkit roughly translates to weak cookie. No one wants to listen to a band called Weak Cookie. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what Zach Wilde thinks of Limp Bizkit. Alright then. Anyone else starting to get the impression that Zach Wilde doesn't like Limp Bizkit that much? In fact, it sounds like Zach Wilde thinks they suck.
Dick.
A lot. But what makes Limp Bizkit one of the most hated bands ever? Well, for starters, Fred Durst has a severe case of mononucleosis. I mean, the rest of Limp Bizkit, really talented guys. Okay, who's that old guy on the right? Is that their dad? But look at him, he's just like, I don't approve of what my children are doing. Now let me ask you something. Between Fred Durst and Vanilla Ice, which one of them looks more douchey? I actually don't know. And let me tell you something. If someone can't decide who looks more like a douche between you and Vanilla Ice, it means you're a douche. And let's face it, a lot of people blame Limp Bizkit for this whole new metal shtick, deciding it was a good idea to put rap and metal together. It's like, why would anyone want to do that? Dick move, man.
Limp Bizkit still sucks.
Dick. Okay. This is what's been bothering me about this entire fucking list. The thing that's been bothering me the most about this fucking list is just a placement for all the bands. Like I said, this list just goes everywhere. He sits here saying that one artist from a completely different band hates their guts. I mean, it's pretty obvious from the fucking clip, but why does everyone else hate them? Oh, is it because the lead singer has an ego boner for himself, just like any other lead singers from other bands who are also listed on this list? But why is Limp Bizkit on the number 2 spot? Because the lead singer looks like Vanilla Ice, therefore he's a douche? We're not going to bring up any factual examples, like during an interview, he acted like an ass? No? Well, fuck me then. Let's not forget you then proceeded to say that the other band members are good, it's just the lead singer. Like I said before in another tangent, I don't understand how people can hate an entire band just because of the lead singer. It makes no sense. And I'll ask again, why does Limp Bizkit get the number 2 spot? I mean, you have Coldplay, who literally plagiarized someone else's song, and they have a lead singer that's douchey as well. They plagiarize a song from another artist, yet gets the number 4 spot. Okay. Then you have a singer of U2 who literally has a made-up disease named after him called mononucleosis, which you use to describe other lead singers that are full of themselves and are apparently douchey. What the absolute fuck? Why does his band get the number 5 spot then? Your reasonings make no sense, and it honestly makes me think that you went online, searched up top 10 most hated bands list, looked at the bands listed, and then just made this video. I am actually getting frustrated by this list, and it's not even because of the listings, because I hardly listen to any of these bands fucking listed on this list. Also, since you brought up nu metal, I personally haven't listened to Limp Bizkit, but I do listen to a nu metal labeled band called Hollywood Undead, and let me tell you, I personally like the mixture of metal and rap, but that's just my music taste though. I personally think nu metal isn't that bad, but if others don't like it, then fine. And if it is true people blame Limp Bizkit for the whole nu metal genre, they shouldn't be blaming Limp Bizkit. They should be blaming Korn because that is supposedly the first band that started off this genre. At least that's what Google is telling me, and I trust Google more than your ass.
Well, well, well. We've made it to number 1. We all know what band is in the number 1 spot. And honestly, I have so much to say about this band that we've actually run out of time for today, but I will have to address them in a different video. Can you guys guess what band it is? Look at this photograph! My girlfriend so ugly it really makes me laugh!
And the video ends there. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to know what the number 1 spot is? Too bad. Because even though he said he'd bring it up in another video, he never does! So fuck you for sitting through a 13-minute video just to not even know what the number 1 most hated band is. Now, if you couldn't tell by the hints that he gave by singing that song, I went in the comments section and it turns out the number 1 most hated band is... drumroll please... Nickelback. And he doesn't even give a reason to why they are at the number 1 spot. Just because they're Nickelback. That's it. No other reason. Just Nickelback. Gotta do it for the meme, am I right? With a piss poor ending to close off the video, let's just slide right into final thoughts, shall we? At this rate, all you lovely freaks know that I start off my final thoughts with talking about how infuriating the video was for me, and how it gave me a headache or how much of a clusterfuck it was, and yada yada yada, so I'm gonna skip over that segment. Stevie T, or just Steve for short, is what I'll call you. I don't think you're a bad person, nor a bad content creator. I binge-watched several of your videos, and I'll be honest, you're not half bad. Hell, I watched your top 10 most disturbing music videos list, and I had no issues with it, but oh boy, was this list a train wreck. If you're going to do a top 10 hated list in general, have a set of rules, or at least a guideline. The reason I'm saying this is due to the reasons these bands are being placed on the list, varied from an ego-inflated lead singer to drama that could damage the band's reputation. I'm not saying the reasonings are bad per se, I'm just saying that they go from a high-level reasoning to a very subtle reason from one segment to the next. I still can't get over the fact you put the Lost Prophets at number 6. Sure, it's not the entire band's fault for the lead singer being sentenced to prison, but what if the band members were aware of his actions? I certainly would hate a band that allowed a fucking predator to pull this shit backstage and get away with it. The fact that Limp Bizkit was higher on the list than them makes me want to bash my head open with a facepalm. By the way, me and my son will be seeing you after class and teaching you a thing or two about Limpy with the Biscuit, because how dare you put them on the list with watered down reasoning? I mean, what's worse? A band that sticks to the same shtick for years on end, or a band that actually plagiarized someone else's song? I do believe some of the reasonings are justified for them being hated, like the plagiarized song and the whole Napster situation, which was a kick in the face to their fans, but like I said, it was mostly the placement with where these bands were that gave me problems. Some of the segments I couldn't commentate on because I had nothing to say, or I could just simply disagree with you. Though it's hard for me to agree or disagree due to me hardly listening to any of these bands. Yet, despite not being a huge fan of any of these bands, I still found problems with your list, and that's saying something. But at the end of the day, it is your list, but with the way you defended some of these bands, it makes it sound like you took fan suggestions or went online and just copy and pasted a top 10 hated bands list from a website. You probably should have clarified in the beginning whose opinions on these bands were in the first place. Was this a list you came up with personally, or were all these bands suggested from your fans? Who's to say, honestly? Hell, in your top most disturbing music videos list, you did exactly that and clarified that all these music videos were suggested by your fans.
Hey, I'm Stevie T, and today we're gonna be looking at the top 10 creepiest, most disturbing, scariest, did I already say that? Most creepiest music videos ever released. So, I went on the social medias and asked my followers to recommend to me some scary music videos. And last night, I sat down to watch as many of them as I could to come up with this list. I didn't get much sleep that night.
So why the fuck didn't you do that on this list? And I don't think I even need to explain how your number one segment was absolute trash. Let me spill some information on you for a sec. If you're going to leave the last segment on a cliffhanger and claim you'll talk about it in another video, you should probably fucking mention it in another video. But with that being said, I put this list at number 6 for the worst video I had to sit through and commentate on. Well, ain't that ironic? Hey, at least my number 6 didn't involve someone going to prison. And with that, this commentary has come to a close. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go back to what I was doing before I was unrightfully interrupted.